Welcome to the Plative AIA demo. Here I will jump right into it to showcase how our IP is able to bridge the gap from the NetSuite environment. So for the AIA portion, we always start with a sales order. From here, it's a very standard form that all we have to do is input a particular customer. For this case, I will use ABC Company. For the status, I will change it to pending fulfillment to skip the approval step. Underneath is I will input a specific service item called service to project. Now, this form will serve as the source of truth for all of your contract. Using the example of if we were to have a $50,000 contract, for this line, I will just put the item as service to project, quantity of 1, rates 50,000, which then will give me the $50,000 in amount. At this point, I could just press on save. Of course, any of the other fields here are completely optional to have. Once the sales order has been saved, we can do is to create the sales order into a project inside of NetSuite. All of this is using the native NetSuite functionalities, so do not worry, there's no any additional scripting involved. Once it's done, I will set this as approve, and then from here, I will navigate to transactions, customers, create project from sales transactions. And note that our sales order is 193. So from this point on, you are able to create a project from the sales order transactions. You can input a specific project name, a project template using the existing template format that it's already saved in your environment. And of course, tie this to a specific parents project if applicable. For our case, we're just going to give this a quick project name, and then we're going to create this. At this very step is where our IP will kick in for the automation. So once this project has been created, I will navigate back to our sales orders. Here is the project we can go ahead and view. And of course, we can navigate back to our sales order 193. On the project record itself, we do have custom subtabs, which then you can continuously to track all of your contract under the same tab. So here is going to be our original amount of $50,000. On the sales order, you can see that this particular line level is tied to a project for one, and two is it is linked to a contract document number. So contract 96, which ties with our project record of contract 96. Now from the project record, what we need to do is to create a schedule of value. We can go ahead and create the schedule value on these original contract here. I will just press on edit. I will give this a quick name, original contract number 96. Now the schedule values, as you can see underneath, is a custom form that you can input all these informations to. This can also be done via CSV upload. So at this point, I'm just going to input some test values here for the next step. Now that we have the schedule of value populated, as you can see, is very straightforward. All we need is a schedule of value name, the value of the amount that will equate to your contract, the project that this is tied to, and of course, if applicable, the hours as well. So in our cases, for foundation, we're estimating to be about 100 hours. HVAC, we're estimating to be about 600 hours. At this point, I can just press on save. Now it will bring me back to the original project page. At the project page here, if I were to go to AIA schedule values, you can see all the schedule of values that is tied. For the next step, let's go ahead and do a change order. One of the reasons why our IP works so well is because native NetSuite does not allow a negative change order onto a project. So here I will press on change orders, and then I will do CO, let's say number 192. Now for the change order, we can give this a amount as well. Let's say it could be minus $6,000 because we are reducing some of the work. So it could be as simple as, let's say, plumbing, value next negative 6,000. And all I have to do is press on save. Now, the second automation kicks in. So in the earlier session, I mentioned that the sales order 193 will be the source of truth for all of the contracts. If I were to go underneath, upon saving the change order at the project record, we can see that we have line 1 for the original contract of 50,000. And then line 2 is tied to the same project. However, with the change order number that we gave has minus 6,000. So essentially, this helps users across the board to be able to track the ins and outs, the plus and minuses for the sales order and their project overall contract. Now, at this point, if we were to navigate back to the project itself, we can once again navigate to the schedule values. Here, we can see all the lines that is applicable, where you will have the original contract and the change order here as well. For the rest of the project setup, you can continuously to use the best practices that NetSuite has to offer, and that does not collide with our IP development whatsoever. The key for the AIA IP is to ensure that there's a printout for the documentation in order to comply by the governmental needs. And under our screen here, all you have to do is press on create claim record. The claims record will take all of the schedule of values that has previously inputted. So here is, we can see the 10,000, the 40,000, and the minus $6,000 in change orders. And then you can give them a percentage of completion. Of course, if you were to use actual hours, in our case, you can also give a estimated hour completion. The system can do a calculation based for the percentage as well. It remains flexible this way to fit all aspects of business needs. Above, you can see a few fields that we can fill out. For example, the name for this claim. We can do invoice, for example, number 177, and then we have period to date. I will invoice this as of July 31st of 2025. Now for the percentage of completion, it could be, well, we're 10% complete on the foundation. We are 5% completed on the HVAC, and we did not do anything else for the plumbing. Here we also offer retainage calculation. So let's say for this project, we have about 5% retainage. We can just input this here. Now, for the retainage, we have had customers that ask us to put the retainage on the project level. Absolutely. So this can also be sourced from different records. After all these information are complete, we can simply just press on save. Now that this record has been saved, we can see that there's an invoice created in the backend for NetSuite, and the amount has been populated. As you can see, 10% of the overall completion, about 10 hours, 5% of this 600 is about 30 hours. Now let's take a look at the actual invoice itself. From here, we can see that this newly created invoice, once again, is created from the original record of sales order 193. We also have the original contract that we worked out of. So the original contract about $50,000. But in our cases, we're only about 6% on average complete based on these two records here. We also have a discount line, which is going to be the retainage amount that is previously calculated on the 5% that we inputted. That allows the users to continuously to track retainage per project. However, we're not going to be using the invoice record here to showcase. This serves as the skeleton that NetSuite need for all of your GL impact and financial reporting. On the customer side, here we have a button called Print AIA. Once this is clicked, it will generate a PDF. It will have all the necessary information, the original contract amounts, the current complete to date, your retainage amount as well, and what is the payment due. Underneath, we will have the document G703 with all the schedule of values and the percentage of completion to this period.